Welcome to the U-Turn podcast. My friend, this is Ashley Stahl. I'm your host, and you are in the right place if you're ready to create a business, a career, a personal brand, or just a life that you're so proud of. And every single week, we want to support you by bringing you PhDs, subject matter experts, psychology practitioners, business leaders, all here on the show to elevate your success in business and also in life so that you can leave a legacy, you can amplify your authority, and you can really skyrocket the amount of opportunities you're creating for yourself in your career, whether you're corporate or you're a business owner. And if you are new here, again, my name is Ashley Stahl. I'm an international bestselling author of the book U-Turn, Get Unstuck, Discover Your Direction, Design Your Dream Career. And most importantly, I'm the CEO and founder of Wise Whisper Agency. I'm a top 100 TEDx speaker on the internet, and I was so inspired to create Wise Whisper and help clients craft their signature talk. We've helped hundreds of clients craft their talk, and we've also helped so many of them land spots on some of the biggest stages in the world, including the TED and TEDx stage. And so I am here on a mission to help every changemaker I know impact millions. Also, before we get into this episode, shout out to our friend Andy B. Mackin, the artist that has gifted us this sick new music for the podcast. Let's get into this week's episode. All right, U-Turn friends, you know that I love bringing friends on, but not just any friend today, but Chase Chewning. And what's so special about him outside of how much I just love him and how he's a new dad is that he's a U.S. Army vet. He spent 6 years serving and he was in the military doing intelligence, and he's a Russian linguist. So obviously I have a bunch of weird things in common with him that I don't always have with my average friend. But he had some career-ending injuries, and that really called him forward to having to figure out how to walk again. And he found his calling in the health and wellness field, and he went on to be a clinical health coach, a wellness director for a concierge medical practice, before going on to become a wellness entrepreneur, a podcaster in 2018. And he's the host of Ever Forward Radio. If you haven't watched it, I'm putting it in the show notes. Top ranked health and fitness podcast with more than 7 million downloads. I think the reason I love Chase for you to listen to on podcasts is because he's real. And I know that beyond just having him on his show. So if you haven't checked out Ever Forward Radio, I don't know if you hear the sirens, the New York sirens, the universe agrees. 7 million downloads, just such a huge impact. So today I want to talk about entrepreneurship, the journey, and just like the things that we go through to build. So Chase, thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. And I got to ask, am I the only guest that maybe shared the same security clearance as you?
Okay, so this is going to be kind of dark to share, but do you know Rachel, you know how Rachel Luna passed away this week? Have you seen that? She
No,
was,
no,
you didn't know she passed away? I'm sorry to be the one to tell you that.
no.
Yeah,
Shoot.
so she passed away this week from breast cancer, and she's one of the only people I've ever had on the show, other than you, that had military experience.
Well, I guess that's on me for bringing it up. I brought in
No,
the
I didn't know
morbid
how to not
intro, but
answer it. I mean,
no.
you, Chris Voss, Rachel Luna, rest in peace, Rachel. Yeah,
Chris, another amazing human. I
yeah.
had him on Everford Radio right at the very, like the first few months I got the show up and running when he and I both were back actually still in DC. So yeah, my background, it's always well when I hear people kind of, recap my history, my background, because it's been so long since I've been in that world, like you. And I'm reminded of like, oh yeah, that was a whole nother identity, a whole nother career, the career that I started first at 17 years old that I thought would carry me the
Yeah.
next 20 years. But, man plans and God laughs kind of thing. And now here I am going from military, intelligence specialist, Russian linguist to wellness entrepreneur and podcaster. I'm not quite sure what happened in between there, but a lot of life. And now here I am.
You know what?
But, yeah,
Yeah.
you should go over to a Peruski. Yeah, you should go over to a Peruski.
Okay, what was that?
I'm still pretty fluent in Russian. I'm a little rusty these days, but every time I hear Russian or meet a Russian or anybody that speaks it, I'm always trying to just keep my language skills
Yeah.
fresh. And I actually speak Russian to my son my wife, who is Iranian American, she speaks Farsi, Persian Farsi to him, and then he'll, of course, hear English. So I'm trying to just raise the next generation of trilingual little spies over here.
Yeah, for sure. How can
Yeah.
you not? You remind me of Craig Clemens and Sarah Stewart's daughter, Evely. Evely is like taking Chinese. She's 3, and her Chinese is pretty good. Her Spanish is pretty good. She's starting to learn French. I mean, that girl is like
Wow.
a curricular in her life.
Wow.
I know she's my little dreamboat of a girl, like
Yeah.
year old. Um,
That's so cool. I love that. I love that for the next generation.
Yeah, it's a game changer. You know what strikes me about you, Chase, is that you have a wife that you really love, and I've actually gotten the opportunity to like not only be your friend, but be your neighbor and just watch your relationship, talk to you, say hi to you. Obviously, now I'm living in New York, but like having spent all that time across the street in LA, and then just all these years where we keep crossing paths, it feels like some paths you just keep crossing. You're like, we're just supposed to be here together in this life in some way or another.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it struck me that like you have a really solid relationship with her. Obviously, you have a new baby, which is a handful. Um, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, when they get absorbed in the path, like having a family or doing anything that isn't your business, even if you want those things, once you get into your business, it's kind of feels like pie in the sky. Like for me, I'm like, I would love to have kids. I have a new boyfriend now. I don't even think I've updated you on that. Maybe I did.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. I remember
Yeah.
hearing rumors, but
Yeah.
yeah, you're kind of hinting. That's amazing. I'm happy
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, he's a good egg and we're both like ready to have a family. So if it works out, it works out. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's like, I'm like, ooh, you hear my deep breath. I'm like, okay, we could have kids, but how do I do all of this? How do I make it all happen? Obviously, I'm a woman that would get pregnant, but you're such an involved person. Like, you're so present, you're so caring. What are some of the things you needed to up level in your career and your business? And can you share what your business is, for you to be able to step into being a father and do the things you want to do outside in your life?
Yeah, so honestly, first and foremost, I'm really happy to say at this point in my entrepreneurial journey, 8 years in, about that I can not get freaked out or have a panic attack whenever someone asks me, "What do you do?" Because the last several years, it has just whittled down, whittled down, whittled down to
Yeah.
be so specific. Not to say I was three sheets to the wind all the time and didn't know what I was doing, but I was still straddling, several different fences in the world of being a online coach. I've been a certified health coach since 2015, have a bachelor's in exercise science, a master's in health promotion. And like you were sharing in my background, that was my quote past real job after the military. And then I got into clinical healthcare. I was a clinical health coach and wellness director. And so I was still navigating that identity, really, but also stepping into creative outlets like YouTube, like social media, like podcasting. And I was exploring a lot of different things, but still struggling, letting go of that identity of what, quote, I was supposed to be, what these titles told me I was, or these certifications or degrees, or whatever corporate America was telling me this is who Chase was. And I say all that because I really, through a lot of work, had to shed a lot of that and realize that I could be whoever the hell I wanted to be. If I wanted to be health coach Chase, I could be him. If I wanted to be social media person, I can navigate those waters. If I wanted to be podcaster, I could. And so over the last couple of years, through a lot of different forms of work and just getting very clear as to what I want, what I didn't want, and also just frankly following opportunity wherever was really, I won't say the path of least resistance, but what just seemed to flow
Mm.
best for me and what felt good in my heart of hearts. And that has just strictly been podcasting. So that's my long-winded way of saying, you can tell I'm a podcaster, is
Yeah.
that I am a full-time podcaster. I host Everforward Radio, a top ranked health and fitness podcast where I talk about physical and mental resilience, primarily in interview format. And then I also run a podcast production company called Operation Podcast. We're almost 5 years old now. And through the last almost 3 years of that journey, I've expanded into podcast and content studios,
Mm.
which I'm in one of them right now here in Los Angeles. So my name is Chase Chewning, and I'm a podcaster.
I love that. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are thinking to themselves, like, how do I even start or scale a podcast? How do I get anybody to listen to me? And I know you've done a lot of interviews. You've had your show for so long. You've been so consistent. I've been the same.
891 episodes as
That's
of this week.
insane,
Yeah.
Chase. Like, what do you think are some questions or some thoughts that you go into that help you really peel back or understand someone? Um, I think a lot of people think podcasting has to be a lot of work, a lot of prep. I think once you've done it a while, it's not. But talk to me a little bit about what goes on in your head in order to ensure that you get the most out of your guests.
Well, I don't know if you and your audience want to really know what's going on in my head. That could
I
be
mean,
a wild place to
I
be,
know.
but and I'm wondering if you can relate to this. I'm sure you can, as someone who has podcasted for more than a year.
Yeah.
It has really ebbed and flowed. I've gone through seasons, I've gone through years of
When I started this podcast, it seemed like I had to figure everything out on my own: the scripts, the setup, the filming schedule, logos. It got really overwhelming, and every day kind of seemed to introduce this new decision that I needed to answer. So that's kind of how it goes, right? When you're starting something new, it seems like your to-do list kind of grows every day with new tasks, and that list can easily begin to overrun your life. So finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. And for so many millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Shopify really helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand's style. You can accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with very helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography so you can get the word out, kind of like you have a marketing team behind you. So you can easily create emails, social media campaigns, whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your e-commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. So if you're ready to sell, you ready for Shopify. So turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/uturn. Go to Shopify, shopify.com/YOUTURN, shopify.com/uturn.
extreme preparation. And I mean, like, actually, if you were going to come back on the show, I would, dive deep. I would spend probably 6, 7, 8 hours prepping. That would look like reading any books that you had written, looking at articles, looking at your social media. That would be going back and listening to probably 3 to, if not half dozen podcasts that you have been on, recent and over the years. And I would just consume myself with you and your work and your world so that I could show up as prepared as I thought I had to be. And frankly, sometimes just to kind of like impress guests, because I understand the world of podcasting has grown and expanded so much, and anyone could really these days go on any podcast more or less they want. And so I say I want to impress them because I want to show them that I'm not just another podcast that they reached out to, or I reached out to them, or their PR company or booking service, or however many different layers between us and them actually, came together for them to sit down across the table for me. But then I've also kind of gone the route of I trust in myself. I trust in my ability to be present. I trust in my past experiences of preparation and interviewing and just being a curious, inquisitive person to not prep anything. And I would swing the complete other way. I would not listen to any podcast. I wouldn't read their book. I wouldn't look at anything other than maybe just a quick glance at their Instagram and go, I got it.
Mm.
Both of those versions of Chase the interviewer, Chase the podcaster worked until they didn't. And what I mean by that is I would kind of reach a point to where I no longer really loved my experience as the host, as the interviewer in the show anymore. And it was kind of just me needing to shed that version of interviewer Chase. Because if you choose to do anything long enough, I think despite having a love for it, despite having a passion for it, which I have both for podcasting still, I'm 7 years deep now in my show. Even with your love for something, you get kind of stale. You kind of,
Yes.
and I've gone through seasons of burnout. I've gone through seasons of like, I want to freaking quit. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just so sick of the competition. I'm sick of, not having quote made it yet,
Yeah.
comparatively, all these different things, negative self-talk, I'm no stranger to all of that. So I've found that I need to kind of just, lean into how I'm truly feeling as Chase, because I know when that version is in alignment, when I'm just truly soul aligned, I can then show up behind the microphone, in front of the microphone, whatever role I need to fill that day professionally. I'm the best version of me then. Now, I
Mm,
say all that as a slight caveat. Last year, 2024, I chose to really only primarily focus on podcasts in terms of YouTube space. I already shoot video, have a great studio here. And so, like, aesthetically, I was already doing that. And so I wanted to lean heavy into video and making sure that the video version of the show was just performing as well as it could. So I devoted all of 22, 24 and spent that year just fine tuning, editing like crazy, just researching and spending a lot of prep in terms of finding guests and topics that I saw already were performing well on YouTube, and then seeing how they fit into my platform in terms of my tagline. My mantra here is, living a life ever forward. How do you turn obstacles into the way? How do you find a way to choose a life of both physical and mental resilience? And so I was part me kind of playing the quote game of guessing topics that worked, and what feeds the almighty YouTube algorithm in terms of titling and thumbnails and all that stuff, but then also staying true to my audience and my format and just kind of this genre of ever forward. And so it's I'm still there, honestly. I definitely don't spend as much time preparing as I did last year, because I've kind of found my groove with YouTube and what's working. But it's still, I don't really listen to any other podcasts. And that might sound like a shock to a full-time podcaster, but if anything, I will watch other shows on YouTube for like production ideas. I will watch a variety of different content on YouTube, again, primarily just to get inspired and to get different ideas, and just to like tap into a world of different types of questions, so that I don't stay stagnant with the type of questions that I ask my guests.
I really love what you're saying about the reality is that like sometimes this stuff gets stale because that has nothing to do with podcasting. That's anything you're doing for a long time. That's just life. And it's interesting, my nervous system, like having written a book called U-Turn, like I don't have a spiritual curriculum that a lot of people have with beginnings and endings. A lot of people have a lot of fear about beginnings and a lot of fear about endings. I enjoy beginnings and endings, even hard endings. I feel free in them. Like something about my spirit works well with them. So it's actually been really hard for me to stick through things when I feel an end coming because I'm like, oh, an ending just means a new beginning. And it's like you sticking with the podcast is so crucial for us to really grow. And I think a lot of people, you talk about ever forward, a lot of people hit that spot where they're like, I'm done. I'm over it. I'm burnt out. And I know in entrepreneurship, that's usually the spot right before your shit like seriously takes off. Like right now, my business, we just hired a sales closer and we get hundreds of applications every month. We probably take about 50 or 60 sales calls. I am tapped out on the sales calls. I really enjoy them, but I'm exhausted because I'm running the business too. I kind of feel like I ran a marathon and I'm on the 26 mile and I'm at the finish line and somebody's looking at me being like 3 more miles. And I'm like, what? Because I have to,
Plot twist.
I get to train somebody and do all the stuff it takes to like hand something off. And that is in a lot of ways how business feels good. And because you're so devoted to your wellness, I would love to just help people understand like how do you take care of yourself? I see you at the gym. Like you and I going to the same gym all those months.
Yeah.
Like I see you. Um, but what else are you doing to like really take care of your body? I also think the supplement world has gotten a little bit overwhelming. Like, I go to get my supplements. I actually have a blood appointment after this to get my blood like assessed.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the best choice before any supplementation,
Yeah, exactly. Like getting your
in
blood.
my opinion.
That's what I'm, but I feel like I get overwhelmed because then they send me like 14 powders and 23 supplements. And then I go to my acupuncture guy and he's like, that's too many supplements for your kidneys. Like your poor kidneys aren't even supposed to filter this much. And it just
Well,
feels
a good
awful
labs
in the kitchen.
test, a good diagnostic labs report will show you if it is or is not too much for your kidneys to handle. So I would kind of challenge that a little bit.
That's a good one. I like that. I like what you're, okay. So let's say somebody's listening right now. I want to ask you about wellness and then I want to get back into business and like how to build something because I know you've built your podcast studios and you had a crazy experience with one of them. Didn't you get like your studio get hit by a hurricane or something insane?
Well, we almost Santa Monica Studios almost got hit by these fires earlier this year. I literally could see them from across the street, more or less. And then I had a really gnarly experience when I tried to expand last year. Well, I did expand last year out of state to Nashville, and we
Yes,
we opened and closed in the same week, kind of
I
thing,
remember
due
that.
to unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so I would say when it comes to wellness, I'm very grateful for my entire personal life journey that then turned into my post-military professional life journey because that really truly solidified all of my foundational healthy habits
Mm,
of baseline daily physical activity, of exercise, of sleep, of nutrition, of hydration, and then key supplementation. I am a big supplement guy, but I do get my labs, so I know I'm getting the right stuff. So wellness for me over the years has really it's been, I don't want to say peaks and valleys. It's been an evolution.
yeah.
I never I was in the beginning I love to train like bodybuilding style. I love to train powerlifting style. I love to kind of latch on to these aspects of what I would see, what I would see online, what I would see my peers, my friends, my family doing. Because I'm also at my core, I think it's, also a big reason why I love doing, the production and the studios and stuff. We get to bring people together. I love community. And I
Yeah.
love knowing that I am some way am, part of connecting some dots for other people and just, helping everyone feel their best, look their best, perform their best. And, that shined through when I was a health coach and a trainer, and that shined through in, certain podcast content and just a lot of things I do now. But wellness, I really latched on heavy in the beginning to just gym life, to
Mm,
training because that's what I needed at the moment. That's when I was still rehabilitating from my injuries from the military, and frankly, it was still very much wrapped up in fear. I was fearful of becoming that crippled version of myself again. I was fearful of not becoming some kind of version that could carry my physical body through the rest of my life because I had felt what it was like to be bedridden. I'd felt
right.
what it had been like to stare down at my lower body and not really be able to move and to just struggle going from the bed to the couch. And so I was really determined and fearful to have to relive those experiences again. So that's when I latched on to bodybuilding and powerlifting and just trying to rehabilitate myself physically as much as possible.
Mm,
And then I kind of reached a peak with that. And then the body will allow you to do certain things to it for a certain period of time before it needs to fight back. And then I got kind of soft with my training. I fell in love with yoga and I found mobility. And I would kind of just really ebb and flow with just hardcore beating my body up, seeing what I could, do with it, but then also hardcore rehabilitation and recovery and just, kind of the softer side of fitness. And, now as a 39-year-old man, I'll be 40 and wow, it's wild to say this out loud. I'll be 40 in less than 2 months now. And as a new father, I'm having to really lean back into that softer side of wellness and the softer side of fitness because these days I'm ecstatic if I can get to the gym twice a week. 3 days a week is probably my most norm these days. And I'm also reliving some flare-ups from these old injuries and even pending yet a third hip surgery. So it's really a lot of just checking myself of what do I want in terms of my wellness? What do I want to accomplish? And then really sitting down and facing the reality of my circumstances and the reality of my body and the reality of my biology,
mm,
frankly.
mm.
And so it's, always checking in with myself, mentally, physically, spiritually, and labs, biochemically, to just
Yeah.
kind of get a pulse as to, all right, Chase, this might be what you want to do and what you used to do, but is that what your body needs right now? Is this what your time allows right now?
Right.
And again, I go back to the part of identity I was talking about before, and that leans, professionally and personally.
Yeah.
Some piece of paper told me that I was this thing, so I assumed that role professionally. And a number on the barbell told me that I was capable of this thing, and so I assumed that that's what I should always be doing.
Mm.
But that's not always the case. Life changes, our circumstances change, we physically change, and so now I'm very full of grace with my wellness, and I also am very grateful for those years of being able to be much more, I guess, hardcore, because I have 2 decades plus of a foundation of
Very
strength
mature
training.
muscle. Yeah. I learned about
Exactly. Yeah,
that.
I can bounce back way quicker. If I'm off my game for several days or a couple of weeks now, whereas before I might have like really set myself back. Now, once I get back on the horse again, I'm feeling my best, looking my best. I'm kind of back to my preferred aesthetic and body composition and performance, really in just a matter of, a couple of weeks, if
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I want to ask you about biohacks too, because I feel like you've interviewed just about everybody under the sun at this point, and you've tried a lot of biohacks. Like, if you really had to choose one or two that actually have changed your life outside of getting blood work for your supplements, which I don't know if I'd call that a biohack or just a good medical decision. But
I agree.
yeah, like what would you say are some biohacks that you think are pretty crucial that people should maybe consider?
So interestingly enough, and I'm a wearable guy, so I've got a Whoop here. I've been wearing this for like 5, 6 years now. And so I'm able to measure things more quantitatively as well as the qualitative aspect of when I do something, how does it make me feel? So I can go off of like, does this make me feel good? Do I like to do it? Does it fit my lifestyle? And also, what does it say about my sleep, my training, my recovery, my HRV, my heart rate, all this stuff? And I do pretty much all the things.
Mm.
I have a plunge at my house, so I'll do the ice bath several days a week. The gym we used to go to, I still do. We have sauna, and I'll do cryo, and I'll do IV drips, and I'll do all the things that are probably like every guest on my show talk about, or what maybe people see on social media. And I do a lot of them because I like them. I do
Yeah.
a lot of them because they fit a certain interest of mine at the time. But oddly enough, and I go back to my Whoop, sauna and cold plunge actually have a slightly negative effect on my recovery
Wow.
by about a negative 0.4%. Now, not to say, in terms of just recovery, and by recovery I mean how really my HRV adapts, my heart rate variability, which is a huge striver for anybody in your wellness and longevity. It actually is slightly detrimental to me personally in terms of recovery and HRV. I don't get quite that bang for my buck that a lot of people do. Not to say that I'm not getting other health benefits like detoxification, like stimulating mitochondrial health and stimulating brown fat, and just a very different what's the word I'm looking for, like physical form of resilience,
Mhm.
and good inflammation and good stress in the body. So I say that I still do them because I like them in some kind of capacities. But the things that have moved the needle for me the most are meditation.
Yeah.
Actually has a really profound effect on my resting heart rate, my HRV, my recovery score, my mood, my energy. So I will, it hasn't become yet a daily practice for me. I'm definitely probably at least twice a week, maybe 4 times a week. I love meditation. It's
Do you
really
do
helped
guided
some.
or what do those look like?
Say again?
Do you do guided ones or what does it look like when you
So I
meditate?
did a little over a year ago. I was a part of a guided meditation study, and so it was daily for I think 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks,
Mm.
and it actually had a profound improvement on my HRV, and collectively, this group, this study, a big jump on average. And so that was guided. Now for me, I just drop. I'll throw on. I think on Spotify, the playlist is peaceful meditation, and it's just kind of like euphoric spa sounds, tranquil sounds in the background. And I will just set my timer on my Whoop to track the activity. And on average, I'm doing like, I'd say anywhere from like 8 to 12 minutes. I kind of just, I'll drop in, and then I drop out when I'm done.
Yeah.
I have like a good feeling. The longest I've gone is like 20, 25 minutes.
Mhm.
And for no particular reason, I just went as long as I felt like I wanted to until I was done. And so it was about, yeah, 25 minutes probably. Meditation is incredible. And
Yeah.
then on top of that, for me, it's really sleep.
Yeah.
Years ago, about probably 2020, 2019, I began to prioritize sleep as my number one wellness priority above everything. I was getting really heavy into that just hustle culture of I got to wake up before everybody else. I got
Yeah.
to stay up later. I got to grind, 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 grow, 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 despite my sleep. But
Yeah.
then I took a step back and I said, no, 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 no. Everything else can wait. And then once I prioritized sleep, everything else in my life got better.
Mm.
Stress, mood, success, clarity as to what I wanted to do, what I didn't want to do. And then keep going back to labs, checking hormone levels,
Mhm.
reduce inflammation in the body. And other than needing to maybe get up early for a flight, I haven't set an alarm clock in like
Yeah.
5, 6 years. I just go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. Again, it's a little bit different these days for me as a new dad, but my son now, for the past probably like month, he's been sleeping like 10, 11 hours sometimes. So
Love
my
that.
sleep took a back seat hard the first few months, but now, yeah, sleep and meditation are the two biggest needle movers for me.
I love that. And I love the simplicity of it because I feel like, and speaking of simplicity, I feel like everybody has different priorities and different needs, right? Like, I'm even looking at our podcast here. Like, you have a collection of podcast studios. So, your lighting, your video, it's all happening. Me, I've decided to
Thank you.
simplify on my podcast. I'm like, this isn't where my business makes revenue. This is where I connect with people and serve my email list and the people who want to find me and learn. And so I think that prioritizing is so huge. And sometimes, like you were saying, we're in this like autopilot of like hustle culture, go at this pace. Sometimes it would just serve anybody to look at your calendar and say, do you really need that meeting? Do you really need to be on your, even journaling in the morning? I put my phone away now because if it's next to me and I see it light up, I'm half journaling, half answering texts. It's like, really just being present and really connecting to like what you need to do with your time and your energy is so huge. And I know that you've been building what you have for a long time and you're really an entrepreneur at heart. So, kind of going back to podcast conversations, I know I was asking you, like, are there questions or what are you doing? And you were talking about how you super prepped and then you didn't prep. I found for me, one question I always like asking guests, and ironically, I haven't asked you it because it's just not the type of conversation. But as I like to understand what that moment was in their life, that was an inflection point. Like, I think that's one of my signature things that I always want to know. And I think the reason that is always a question I want to know is because you can have a guest paint a picture of the most transformative moment of their life right away, and you can learn so much about them. Whether it's like the moment they quit their job, they decided they were done, they were failing, they hit rock bottom. So I really like to get straight to the heart of the matter. I think there's too much warm up and too much niceties. It's like, have you ever listened to a radio show where they're just like shooting and you're like onward and upwards, yo, like ever
Yeah,
forward. So really just I like to get to the heart of people. And it's funny because with what I do now with speech writing, like we've written over 120 speeches the past like I want to say year and a half.
good
From
for you. Yeah, wow.
yeah, yeah, my team has really expanded. We're like 20 people now, Chase. It's crazy. Um, but and these are the best writers I've truly ever met. And this is the key to good speech writing is really getting to the heart of somebody's life. So if we're writing for a wellness person, we're wanting to get to the moment that they felt heartbreak around wellness, the moment something they saw that moved them deeply. So we're always looking for moments to be able to pull stories out of people. And I think people with storytelling, they're a little too into referencing a story versus inviting you into a
Mm,
story.
hmm.
And so yeah, I'm speaking tomorrow in Brooklyn at this event, and I think they're gonna ask me about stories, and I think about that a lot. It's a big difference between you saying I had a baby last week versus you saying at 7:45 a.m. my baby Dean was born and I saw his head come out first and his arm reaching. Like it's you brought people.
6:07 a.m.
That's so
6:07.
funny. I was in the
January 30th,
neighborhood.
2025, 6:07 a.m. Yeah.
6:07 a.m. You know, I live next door to an astrologer here in New York, so
Oh yeah, I want to get his birth chart read. I
yeah.
actually I did that for my birthday last year and it was very intriguing. I would love to get his done as well. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. That's actually one of my favorite baby shower gifts is like an astrology reading for the baby.
I'm stealing that idea. That's a
Isn't
great
that
idea.
so
Yeah.
good?
I'm gonna co-sign on
Literally, you're welcome to co-sign on anything in my world, Chase. Okay,
that.
so like you've had hundreds of guests, and I know I'm talking about what I found to pull interesting stuff out of them, but what have you found makes people interesting? Like you said, you were kind of like re-evaluating who you have as guests. Obviously, you're doing the metric side of it, like what's going viral, what's a topic people. But if somebody's listening right now and they're like, I need to be a little more interesting, I need to think about how I show up at work, in meetings, on podcasts, whatever. What makes a guest interesting? And I also want to know what makes a pitch interesting to you, because I know you get a lot of email pitches.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah, I go through so many pitches a day. Because we have a network of shows as well, so it's not just like just me, but we get a lot for a collective like 25, 26 shows now. So yeah, you can imagine my inbox is pretty wild.
Yeah.
But that's a really good and really important question, I think, for anyone and everyone, just in life in general and in business, whether you work for someone else or created your own business, how to be more interesting
Yeah.
or how to make yourself seem more interesting. I think it comes down to, for me, the first thing comes to mind is being relatable and more specifically, humanizing. If I'm going, let's say I'm going on stage, I'm speaking, or I'm whatever I'm about to do, I'm trying to say something, deliver a story, and connect with a person or hundreds of people in the room. I personally feel like I could be an astronaut, right? I
Yeah.
could have gone to space, and that's a very, very small group of people in human history that have ever done a thing. So out of the gate, that's pretty interesting. But if I'm not relatable to the audience in any capacity, they're not going to be able to really see themselves in me, see themselves in my journey. And therefore, it's going to seem, I think, so unattainable to most people unless they just have that insane pie in the sky. It doesn't matter that, I don't see any version of any version of myself in you because I'm delusionally optimistic. And, even, entrepreneurs like ourselves, I think, we have a good shred of that. I don't think you would be an entrepreneur if you didn't. But, it takes me back to kind of my health coaching practice. And I could give somebody the best workout, the best nutrition plan. I could work with their doctor on medications and labs, and I could give them, quote, the best routine, the best program. But if they couldn't see me in that, then like there's no buy-in.
Mhm.
If I guess what I'm trying to say is like my best success with clients in that capacity were the ones when I shared like what I went through. Hey, this workout's going to seem really hard, but you know what? I found these modifications to work for me when I was rehabilitating bilateral hip surgery, and this is what helped me stay adherent. And so they kind of saw me as a human again. And so I think if I'm this astronaut trying to be interesting to somebody, I'm going to try to find a through line that humanizes me to the common denominator, so to speak, in the crowd. Because I too am a person, and I too had a moment where I wanted this for my life, or maybe I was up in space and I had this horrible thing happen, and it wasn't because of my years and years of training that I had this special unobtainable skill set to get me out of it, but maybe I did something. That someone else could do in terms of how do I calm myself down? How do I critically think? How do I problem solve? How do I lean on my team? How do I check in with my resources that I have at my fingertips? And how do I, more importantly, not panic? And that's human nature for a lot of us when we're trying to grow is, we see the obstacles or the obstacles are thrown at us and there's panic and there's confusion and there's uncertainty. And then there's that whole identity thing of, oh, I'm not the person that knows how to do this. I wasn't trained. I don't have the skill set. I don't have the money. It's this kind of lack mentality that I think is naturally what steps in. But if I can let my audience know, if I can tell this person I'm talking to, here's how I kind of just like grounded myself, here's how I checked in, here's how I figured it out, I think that's more relatable than any extreme unique skill set or area of expertise that I say that I have, or someone tells me that I have, or
Yeah.
why you even signed up to come to my conference or whatever. All hypothetical here. But if
Well,
I
you're
can
being
truly
personal.
humanize myself, I feel like it's more interesting to people.
Yeah, the funny thing about that is you don't really have to try to do it because at the end of the day, it's like what Martin Scorsese says. He says it's one of my favorite quotes of all time. He says, "What's most personal is most creative." And
Yes.
that's it. And that's why I tell clients with, especially if we're helping them with a TED Talk or something, I explain to them, like, you don't have to think about what your craziest story is. Tell me about a time where you were embarrassed. Tell me about a time where you failed. Tell me about a time where you felt exposed. Tell me about a time that like something wasn't working and like you were scared. Like walk me
Heartbreak,
through life.
grief, loss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like take me into something deeply personal. It can also be wins. It can also be celebrations. There was one client that she was doing a talk with us about burnout, and we ended up opening up her talk with her on the surfboard on her first vacation she'd taken in 10 years, and like her
Wow.
feeling the sun and the waves touching her. And that's so deeply personal, and it made it creative because it was like, God, I needed this so bad. And we all know what it feels like when we haven't gotten something that we really freaking need. Um, and that was like opening up her talk with that very relatable feeling of relief. Okay, so I want to ask you in the podcast world, we know it's saturated. It's so funny because when I started in like 2018, I was like, I'm too late. But what I didn't realize was that people in 2015 were like dinosaur fossils that like really, and then the people before that were like, I don't even know what they were. So we were early, you and I, Chase. And I still think there's a lot of space, but what advice would you give somebody that is starting a podcast today in what they might see to be a pretty saturated market?
I prefer the term diluted right now for podcasting. We've had tremendous growth on the platform the last several years. Ever since COVID, really, we podcasting has grown more in the last 5 year, 4 year, 4 to 5 years than it did the 15 years before. Podcasting, the first published RSS feed, has been around now for pushing 21 years, almost,
Wow.
we're going into year 21.
Wow.
And it's crazy. And so there's been growth, there's been expansion, there's been awareness. I mean, some of the biggest brand deals, in quote influencer deals, are now happening in podcasting. When just
Yeah.
a few years ago, majority of Americans were like, "What the hell is a podcast?" And
Yeah.
who is Joe Rogan? Who is Caller Daddy? And why are they getting hundreds, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars? Like, what's going on here? And so there's a lot of attention and eyes on it, and a lot of people are jumping on it right now for some right reasons, for some maybe, I don't want to say wrong reasons, but reasons that aren't going to allow you to stay adherent, and they're not going to allow you to experience any form of success, much less probably the one that you're hoping for. And that's, you launch a podcast, you get a bajillion downloads, you get all the brand deals in the world, and you get a book deal and blah, blah, blah. The best advice I could give for someone thinking about starting a podcast now is to wrap your head around committing to at least 1 year
Mm.
and not seeing a dollar from that first year. And then only after that year, then go back and really visit, okay, was this successful? Did I find joy in every conversation I was holding, whether it's interview or solo? Look at your analytics. Not to say you can't check in on that stuff along the way, but don't make the mistake of thinking I'm going to hit record, push it out, and just the money and the downloads are going to come. It's
Yeah.
a commitment. It's a commitment. It truly is. Now, it has tremendous brand power and potential to contribute to other platforms like social media, like web, like email, and kind of like to be the core of content these days. That's really what a lot of podcasters are doing. They're starting or leveraging their podcast as the starting point for all their audio, their video, their copy, their social media. Um, we have shows that come into the studios now that are quote podcasts, but I'll look through the footage sometimes and it's just them talking to no one across the table, because it's that appeal of what people are after right now, and it's a very trusted platform. And so I think we're going to go through a little bit of a shakeout. You know, it's diluted right now in terms of people that are in it for their best reason, and people that are in it that are committed. And so I really think the rest of 2025 and even into next year, we're gonna have a big shakeout of shows that one are just not around anymore, and two, just stop pushing out any new content because it does take work. If you want it to be a successful podcast and you get to define success here, whether that's reach, whether that's bringing in leads for your current business, whether that's leveraging for social connection, whether that's, hey, if it takes off, great. Hey, if you can make some money, great. It's all just important things to take note of, but just know that it's not going to happen out of the gate. But if it does, amazing. More power to you, kind of thing. But
Mm.
commit to a year, and also have clarity or choose to develop clarity throughout that year as to what success means for you for a podcast.
Yeah, and I'm curious, like you sound like you're testing out new things, so you really doubled down on video. What have you found has been the quantum leap? And I know that this is a weird question because I know podcasting and I know that it's hard to sometimes get a quantum leap, but you get these little leaps that you can see you're doing the right thing. Has there been anything in recent months that you've really invested in looking at and said, "Oh, this really is moving the needle. People need to do this if they're podcasting."
Oh yeah, well, podcasting, I say number one, strategize most around YouTube. It has, especially right now with all the shows out there in audio land and podcast land, it has the most potential for quicker growth, quicker reach, quicker discoverability. YouTube is it's always straddling number one, number two for search engine. So no matter what your topics are, again, interview or solo, spend time researching, that copy, SEO, just, look up things that you want to talk about and see what's already out there and how it's worded in terms of the title, what thumbnails are most catchy, which ones are working the most. YouTube gives you some insane analytics, and the answers are there. The breadcrumbs to success are there if you just spend time preemptively looking for it and then coming back home and making your content from that. I would really say everyone should prioritize YouTube for podcasts right now, because also YouTube is just dumping insane resources and time and money into that for their platform, because they're in the business of keeping people on YouTube as long as possible so they can pump ads out. What's great for that? Long format content, podcasts. So prioritizing YouTube can be great. And things that I've seen work, like really move the needle, are testing and retesting titles and thumbnails. We'll have some videos that will sit there for months, and then we'll go back in. Maybe that's because the guest or that topic is more pertinent now, or maybe they're trending now, or we just decide to test some different things, and an old video will just take off. And all it takes is just retitling it, coming up with a different thumbnail, doing an A/B or even ABC testing of the thumbnail, and then let YouTube do its thing. Titling and thumbnails, anybody in YouTube space will tell you, are always the name of the game. But that, coupled with researching topics, keywords, and just looking at these topics and guests that you want to have on your show, what are already working, use that to your advantage to then kind of, curate your show accordingly.
I love that, and I feel like a lot of people want to hide on video. I'm one of them, and you're just like fearless at it, and it's so great for repurposing. Like the
You
amount
don't even need video anymore.
I
There are so many great AI tools that you can just do a
That was
spoken
my next
word,
question.
put it through AI, and it will give you, B-roll. I mean, you can hire an editor to, like, if you want to do that route,
What are your
you don't need to
favorite
be on camera.
AI tools? Like, tell me what you love.
We use ChatGPT a lot now, for a lot of different things. There's a platform that we use for a lot of our shows called Podium. I
Okay.
believe it's podium.page, where you can just upload your audio file, and within 3 minutes, it gives you a bunch of different summaries, titles, transcription, keywords. You can then prompt it for, like, hey, give me clips. Hey, give me quotes. Hey, rewrite this. You can get your email. What AI does now is incredible. And there are a lot of other great platforms out there, especially some video editor platforms. I know Opus is a popular one that will take a video and give you 20, 30 clips in a matter of minutes. There's another one out there, I forget its name, but basically it will create YouTube videos for you. You can give it a prompt, you upload your audio file, and I know people that are creating entire, like, animated, like they look like Pixar movie animation YouTube channels, and they're not even the face on it. So you no longer need to, you no longer get to use that excuse anymore.
This world is wild. Okay, Chase, where can everybody find you? And can you share where your podcast studios are for anybody that's looking to get started in podcasting? I know you have Everforward Radio, which I hope everybody listens to, but just in case somebody's thinking, you know what, I'm going to use Chase's studio for my show.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. Yeah, Everforward Radio is the name of my podcast. Where anywhere and everywhere you listen or watch podcasts, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, everforwardradio.com, at Everforward Radio on social. And then my production company and studios are called Operation Podcast. So at Operation Podcast on social. Website is www.operationpodcast.com. And studios are open to the public. Anybody can book it. It comes with audio, video, studio engineer, all the things you need to record and to get going. We work with people that are just getting started, and we're here to help you from the ground up. We also work at the highest level. I'm actually sitting in the same seat where Seth Rogen sat like a month ago. So we get everybody and anybody of all walks of content. So we would love to work with you. I have 3 studios in LA, 2 in Santa Monica, 1 in West Hollywood, and working on some new as well. So come on down. We'd love to have you.
Thanks again for coming on.
My pleasure. Always good to see you, Ashley.
Always
And
good to see you too.
yeah,
I
I
had
got
a
to see
little
you.
rundown, a little bit. I know I'm not my cutest today, but I'm
Nah, what are you talking about?
Thanks for tuning in to the U-Turn podcast. I hope you learned so much in this episode and you're putting it into action today. We would love to hear from you. Slide into my DMs at Ashley Stahl or leave a written review if you're inspired. It would mean so much to us. Be sure to subscribe to the show because, as you know, the more subscribers we get, the better the guests we can bring you. And in the meantime, if you're looking to skyrocket your personal brand and impact millions,
Head on over to wisewhisperagency.com to learn more about how we can help you craft your greatest talk of your life, how we can help you get booked on some of the biggest stages in the world, even the TED or TEDx stage. We'd love to hear from you, and that's it for this week.
Trying to solve, always think you know it. I've been thinking about you up against that wall. It's too late, I fell on every fall. Holding ground on hers. I'm holding ground on hers. Holding ground on hers. Late night drive, what you trying to do tonight? I swear you don't even try, yeah, you still stupid. I can try and make you mine, but I don't think you like guys. I don't think you like guys. I don't think I should try. I guess it's time to give up, but I don't wanna give up, give up, give up. No, 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 no. Scrolling through my phone today, I saw a photo of you. Really thought that I deleted all the photos of you. Forgot how it felt just to be normal with you. Forgot how I felt till I saw you with that late night drive. What you trying to do tonight? I swear you don't even try. Yeah, you still stupid fine. Wish I can try and make